Hi, this is Rage Badger Gaming, and do you want to know what are the most annoying monsters in the game? Are cultists really that bad? And what's Isaac's favorite color? Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe, and if you really want to help us out, check out Patreon. We do give you some super fun previews. I guess they're super fun, but let's just get into the video. Ancient Artillery. Elites end up getting the double target, and because they have such long range in general between even normal and elites, this becomes to be a very annoying thing to fight. They don't move, which is nice. So sometimes you can actually end up maybe luring a room out, fighting half of it, then running in at the Ancient Artillery shooting you. Or some of their attacks only push you away instead of like them trying to move away, and you can kind of game around that. But ultimately, they're going to get in the B tier. Wow, that 30 seconds is really short. But yeah, I'm generally not a fan of fighting them, but they're not the worst. All right, Bandit Archers, I'm putting at a B tier. I know, we're going to stick in the B tier for a bit. They actually end up being similar to Ancient Artillery, where their long range ends up being annoying. Also, they've got good mobility, so even if they're far away, they'll end up getting within range, although I don't generally like fighting archers. Their initiative gets very annoying. I don't think these are the worst out of the bunch, but I certainly don't like fighting them, but it's not something, oh no, Bandit Archers. I don't really get much of a reaction there. But some of their attacks end up having long range, long attacks, and I just don't like dealing with it. Bandit Guards, on the other hand, are C. I like the fact that the elite Bandit Guards get a little slower movement, but are a little tougher, especially with shield, and the normals are faster, but don't get that shield. So they get some interesting bits there. However, the guard deck is one of the easiest to like understand and predict, and the bandits, really all there are, we're going to muddle you at higher levels, and we're going to move quickly and hit you. So it's hard to game around their fast movement, but the rest of their stats really don't stack up. Black Imps. So I'm putting these in the A tier. One of the main things I don't like about Black Imps is I hate the Imp deck, although it's very easy to control their initiative because they have almost all of them between 24 and 43. But they have some like annoying heals, and it's very unpredictable because they'll be like, I'm shielding this turn in initiative 5, or you know what, we're ready for an attack, but they're just healing. They've got that double poison, double curse. They already poison, you have disadvantage to hit them. It's easier to control with their low movement, but they get so annoying. So Black Imps are an A, and I don't like you. Cave Bears. I'm going to put them in the C. Actually, they're kind of just gigantic stat blocks that can wound, and their initiative deck is kind of, I don't know. They generally favor fast initiative. They move quickly, and they hit you, and they slap wound on you, and they've got some things where they can, like, I'm going to defensively heal, and it sounds annoying, but because they have a weight of 2, and they're so easy to crowd control because one stun or one disarm makes them much worse. It's easy to fight them just because they take up so much design space. So, C tier bear. Now, City Archers, on the other hand, A. They're just like the Bandit Archers. However, they move a little bit more slowly, but a lot of times ranged attackers don't need that movement. So what we get are these more durable, shielded, high damage, high range archers that just shoot at you from afar, and it's much more annoying to deal with more durable, shielded, ranged enemies. Even though their hit points or movement are less, they just don't care. Usually their movement's not a factor. They're very static anyway. They're like a catapult. So annoying, A tier, even with the archer deck. I'm over on time. Jeez, 30 seconds is hard to do. City Guards, on the other hand, B. They're another one where just dealing with them is kind of annoying. They're slower than the guards. It's one of those at low levels. It's not so bad because sometimes they'll just start shuffling and you don't deal with them very much. But even then, dealing with shield, if you're not ready for that, they can be kind of in the middle. So they have the guard deck, which honestly I think if they had a more dynamic a behavior deck, I might put them up a tier. But ultimately, the guard deck's really easy to game around, and they're just kind of middle of the road. So City of the Guards, you're B. Cultists are A tier. So I hate curses, and they start quickly getting to the elites just cursing you, and that's not actually the annoying part. They get big health pools, semi-unpredictable. You've got some of that quick initiative where they can shuffle and completely blow up on an attack, but that's not the big deal. Sometimes you can get big rooms with cultists, and they just start spamming out skeletons, and they can change a scenario based off how stuff is shuffled. If just the way it's shuffled can completely change the difficulty of a scenario, they can take it over, and that's why you have to put them in the A tier. Very annoying. I can't do 30 seconds. This is too hard. Stephanie, give me more time. Alright, these deep terrors are C tier. I actually don't necessarily hate fighting these. They can sometimes like toss another copy of themselves out at you, which sounds annoying. They have a long range, but I'm going to be honest, their low health pool and the retaliate it really hasn't bothered me very much. They're immobile. They can shoot these spikes out in the line, but after you see where they're shooting, you can usually just dodge and position yourself in a place that you're not hitting. I mean, they're almost D tier, but they end up being kind of annoying if they can get annoying spawns out. So just above D tier, putting them in C. Earth Demons would be more annoying, but I'm putting them in C. 1.5 weight means they take up a little bit more space on the scenario, and they're one of the ones that's easier to predict, react to, and control. They're slow initiative. They do have some annoying things with the elites immobilizing on hit, and I actually hate that, especially if they draw their ranged attack, but usually it's, again, late initiative. That said, it's just a big chunk of health that you need to eat through. Also, hard crowd control or executes, just destroy it. They've got some vulnerabilities, but I don't think it's very annoying, so C tier it is. Flame Demons to the S tier. Here's our first S tier. Whenever you see Flame Demons, sometimes you'll see like, oh, Bandit Guards are in this scenario. Okay. You see Flame Demons, you go like, alright, I need direct damage. I need Pierce. You change your strategy like, oh, I can't bring this summon. It will die. And just the fact that you have to completely change how you approach a scenario means just gives how much power these have. At 1.5 weight, they're not awful, but they are just terrible. They've got high shield, and sometimes you draw some crappy modifier, and you're like, I did no damage. Oh, I take the retaliate. And they're just so frustrating to game around, especially if they're low initiative. I don't care about your timer, Stephanie. But yeah, Flame Demons, S tier, I hate you. Well designed, though, but let's move on before I get too angry. Forest Imps, A tier, and the only reason is they're half weight. If these were a weight of 1, I probably wouldn't even put them up there, but they are annoying. Usually I have to fight a lot of them because they are a half a point each. So you've got these that are sometimes like, hey, I'm going to multi-target 2 curses, or sometimes here you get 2 curses, you get 2 curses, and quickly your modifier decks, as you draw them, just start doing no damage, no damage. They've got shield, they can heal, and they're just super annoying. And they've got flight too, so unlike the Black Imps, who are tougher because you have disadvantage to hit them and more health, but these end up being just more frustrating to fight against, so bleh. Frost Demons, C. Another one, or D, C. Another one that's, again, it's 1.5 point weight, makes it a little, if it was a 1, I'd probably consider them more annoying. I don't like their use of the ice attacks. If you can get some of those, are very annoying, but they sometimes can shoot a ranged thing. They've got retaliate. Honestly, I don't consider them very imposing. They're usually just some blob of a monster you have to just chop through and get retaliated, and then they die. It's not very intimidating, so we have to put it in the C tier, but just annoying enough to not be D. Living Spirits go in the B tier. I was almost considering A, but they're very, if you bring Pierce, just like the Flame Demons, if you bring Pierce and their direct damage, they are very vulnerable, but they don't have the annoying retaliate on their Pierce. So even if you draw like, ah crap, didn't do any damage, at least nothing's happening. They do have annoying effects. The stun they have is actually pretty easy to avoid, and they've got annoying curses, but ultimately they don't do a huge amount except for their big multi-curse, which I hate, and some of their attack damage at range. So I'm gonna put it in the B tier, but maybe A. So snakes are C tier. I was honestly considering D tier, but there's some scenarios where they're just being super annoying, where they're like, I'm going to bite both of you and you're poisoned, and then other stuff pile on. They're only a half of weight, so they're kind of annoying, but they have such little health. They're easy to area of effect usually, and I don't think their movement ends up being very good, but they get some good jump effects in there, so I'm going to put them in the C. Poison's annoying, but yeah, that's about it. I've got some time to spare. The Harrowers, on the other hand, S tier. They are very fast. Honestly, if you don't have enough burst damage, they have so many ways of just like attack, heal, shield, heal, retaliate, and then they suddenly are like, wait, why do they keep restoring their health? Why are their initiatives so fast? How do they hit so hard? The retaliate 5 this turn, I can't hit them, and then it's so frustrating to play against. And oh my goodness, they are probably one of the more annoying ones in the game. So thank you, Marcel, for designing Torture Monster, S tier. And Hounds. Late Hounds aren't really that tough. They don't get tougher, they just get meaner. But as a result, they're way more vulnerable to crowd control and to damage. So sometimes it's just burst them down and they die. They've got some retaliate, but because their health pool's so low, you can actually end up avoiding being retaliated on them. They don't have shield, they're fast, but I mean, honestly, it's pretty easy to game around. I don't consider hounds very annoying at all. So to the bottom tier with you. Boom. All right, Einox Archers are A tier. I hate being wounded. I hate being wounded at range. I know that we've got some of those. We're talking about all the cave bears are just blobs that wound. These guys are just dudes that shoot you completely from afar. They actually have a durable pull. Like whereas I said the cave bear has 2 weight. The Einox does not. They only have 1, so you have to end up fighting 2 of those per cave bear. So they just chuck multiple attacks at range, especially when they have their multi-wound. If you have 4 people in your party, you can quickly get all hit and wounded. They become frustrating, but not quite enough to be S tier. So Einox Archers, you're a little bit more annoying than those Bandit Archers. And Einox. Alright, so Einox Guards, on the other hand, are B tier. Again, the guard deck is not very intimidating, but these guys are retaliating big health blobs that can hit you hard. They're not super fast, kind of like the City Guards, but unlike the City Guards, I mean, they have better stats, and they have retaliate, but no shield, so there's some level of vulnerability there. There's not much else to say about the guard deck. It's probably the most annoying, the least annoying in the game, so yeah, I guess you have to B tier. Even though you're a big chunk of body for 1 weight. So the next, though, sticking on the Einox train, Einox Shaman are A tier. I hate Shaman decks in general because you've got Disarm, you've got Curse, you've got some annoying heals in there. You've got one where they heal everything around and then toss a Bless in the monster deck. I hate adding Blesses to the monster deck too. I especially hate that Disarm. That Disarm has ruined more turns than I can think of. And honestly, if that was out of there, I might even put them in the B tier, but Einox Shamans just end up being kind of annoying just based off of that. Just the Shaman deck is annoying. So A tier for you, Mr. Shaman. And we're going to put Lurkers in the middle tier. It'll actually be exciting when we get to see the other types of Lurkers in Frosthaven, but we're going to focus on these ones. Pierce, multi-attack, shield, ends up having a lot of stuff going on, but again, 1.5 weight means that you're like, oh, well, instead of like 3 Einox Guards or 2 Lurkers, it ends up being about the same. Lurkers deck is kind of annoying, but again, they're a little bit easier to crowd control. I hate their multi-target, but it's melee multi-target, so it's not as annoying. So we're gonna middle tier these guys. Night Demons, I actually hate these guys. They've the most annoying thing. Sometimes just the invisibility can ruin your turn. Multi-attack in the wrong turn can just ruin everything, but sometimes it's easier to control. I hate constantly attacking them at disadvantage because you usually try to game around it and then you go like, now you always have to do straight shots, or sometimes that ends up drawing more misses. I hate it. These guys, actually, I've changed my mind. I'm putting them to S tier. Screw it. I hate Night Demons. Screw them. Go to hell. Alright. I feel better saying that. That was some therapy right there. So this is everyone's favorite, and you have to put it in the S tier. They completely change a scenario when you start the scenario thinking, oh no, we're doing oozes, and then every time you open a door, go, okay, there's 3, so if they draw the split, they're going to go to 6, and then we have to worry about this and that, and then go, don't hit them now, let them do their thing, damage themselves, and so on and so forth. Anytime you put that much mental thought to one monster being in a room, it has to be that tier. Even though they're not the worst, screw you, timer. They require a lot of mental thought, and if you don't deal with them, they're awful. So, S tier for oozes. Savas Ice Storms are very annoying. They can summon Wind Demons. I hate that. They have long range. I hate that. They've got Pierce. I hate that. They have Shield. That's annoying. And they have super annoying abilities where they have Disarms and just all this sorts of things compared with, like, there are a lot of quick initiatives in there too, along with some late ones. They can just do so much damage, and they have a gigantic health pool. They're one of the most annoying things in the game, and you can't not put them in S tier, even at 2 weight. Much like its brother, the Lava Flows also. The Savas are just brutal. Their deal 2 damage to anything is brutal, especially if Earth's in play, where it disarms everyone on the map. Then you just feel useless, especially if you had a turn lined up that, oh, it's awful. Then they can summon Flame Demons, which you've already heard my opinion on that. Massive Boulder, they'll chuck something at you and 2 damage, so you have to spread out. Sometimes you can make it splash on his own Flame Demon, so that's not awful. But ultimately, wound, poison, lots of damage, gigantic health pool. Insane. S tier. These dudes, whew, the worst. Now to something more tame, Living Bones. They have to put them in the B tier. Yuck. Even though they multi-target and they have shield, I actually don't think they're that annoying. They don't have gigantic health pools. Again, they've got shield, but only a little bit. They've got the multi-target, but they do have that one attack where the little normals do double attack and the elites do triple. That can be frustrating, but the rest of them is ultimately not too big a deal. I'll have to put them in the middle tier, but they're annoying, but not terrible. So I think that's about where they go. These annoying dudes, they spit on you, they fly, they can jump onto the obstacles, they have to be in the A tier. I hate that muddle on everything, so you constantly are just disadvantaged until you deal with these guys. Their initiatives aren't super great, they do have the early heal, strength, and shield thing, but everything else is generally later. They have that stun shot, which you can usually avoid, but then they've got AoEs, they can lob out poison, it ends up being very annoying, and you have to deal with them fast, so you have to put them in the A tier. Hate you stupid wing drakes. So Stone Golem, I was almost thinking of putting in the D tier, but it has to be in the C tier. The main reason is even though it does have a weight of 2, and it does have that runic feedback, which can really screw up your turns, or runic draw, which you pull things in and then they get immobilized. And he's got that big shield. I don't actually think that the rest of his health pool and all the other stats balance out. It's just easier to control because it takes up so much of the room space, especially when you get an elite one in there. It takes up 4 points of the room, and it's just easier to crowd control. So I'm gonna have to put it in the C tier. It's not that bad. Light demons are actually B. I don't think they're that big a deal. They're kind of slow, even though they have shield, decent health pools, they have healing stuff, and they always attack with advantage. And between that and flight, you think that these guys are annoying, but I'm just not that intimidated by them. They don't really seem to have gigantic impacts. You can usually react to how slow they are, and I don't know. It's not that big a deal to me, but their cousin, the Night Demons, are much more annoying. So B tier for Sun Demons. All right, Firmlings. No timer for this. They're just garbage loot. A lot of this stuff's easy to avoid. Just buy. Firmlings are bad. I should make a lower tier specifically for these because they're hilariously easy to play against. Firmling Shamans, on the other hand, are about middle tier. I don't actually think they're that intimidating. They have tiny health pools. They're not great, but they have high shields, and they use the Shaman deck. Just the fact that they have a gigantic shield, even though you can kind of break through them in one attack with one pierce attack. The Shaman deck, which can chuck out ranged disarms, curses, and heals, and it actually ends up being pretty annoying. So despite all the things I'm like, oh, they're easy, they're really not. Just I hate the Shaman deck, so you have to put them in the middle there. They're good. Alright, Rending Drakes. They're an A. Why are they A? They're actually not super durable, but they're fast. They go early in the initiative. They hit hard. They hit really hard and then slap wounds on you. These are the ones where you think like, man, I really need iron helmets, because one crit from these can just ruin a scenario, and you have to lose cards fast, and these guys can be such a pain in the ass. They have a couple cards you can game around where you're like, oh, they're just doing their multi-shredding thing, and that's fine, I'll just move away, but sometimes in the wrong scenarios, these guys can just rip you apart. They have to be A tier. They're really annoying. And Wind Demons. Yeah, so anything with like just disarm, elite high level wind demons are so annoying. That with the disarms, and they've got multi attacks and ranged attacks. They have a decent health pool with a decent shield. It's like the worst combo because the super high shields I'll just break through it, one shot them. And the ones that have high health pools, you go like boom, I'll just put a big attack without pierce on it. They're right in that middle area where it's just frustrating to fight them. They're move fast, fly. Everything about them's annoying. I hate the monster modifier deck. They're in the S tier. These guys are annoying. And last but least, Living Corpses. What's there to say about them? They're easy to play against. They're slow. I think their Rotting Grasp is the most annoying thing they've got. They don't really have a lot. They damage themselves. They don't move quickly. The elites poison you, so that's annoying, but gotta say, I'm not really that impressed with these guys. They tend to be on the easier, like, oh, they're just Living Corpses, this scenario. So D tier it is. Something rated too low? Something clearly overrated? Or just want to leave a comment on anything on these guys? Or think you have an idea for a cool video that we think, man, they should do it? Just let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and if you really want notified, we actually have a lot of Frosthaven stuff coming out next year. We can't tell you anything about it, but as soon as we are allowed to, we're waiting on stuff, we will let you know anything Frosthaven as soon as we get the green light. So be sure to hit that bell thing to make sure you get notified. We're like, holy crap. So we're very excited for it. We will spoiler gate some of it, so If all you need to do is like, oh, we want some starter stuff guides, we're going to be doing a lot of that in the beginning. So I really hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.